and the Airman review that exposed us. The review popped up between a recipe for lemon pasta and a news alert about a storm that never arrived. I wasn't looking for anything. My thumb had fallen into that late-night motion of scrolling that feels like prayer for people who don't believe in mercy. 5 stars, a photo of a skylight over a bed made with ruthless precision, and the first sentence that pulled my stomach through the floorboards. The linen smells like orange peel and rain. Maya wrote like that when she wanted to be believed. Not a claim, a sense memory. The username was a pseudonym, some neat little consonant cluster with 3 numbers at the end, but the turns of phrase were hers. The kitchen counts out loud, the way the light behaves like a kind stranger, the tiny desk that invites secrets but won't snitch. She always made rooms sound like people. I manage product for an app that catalogs spaces. We pretend it's about discovery. It's about making strangers feel brave about doors. My job is to teach the algorithm how to trust a listing. The irony isn't lost on me that I couldn't teach myself to trust the woman I lived with. We had been together 3 years. We shared a closet, a coffee grinder, and a list on the fridge where we put things we wanted to say later, so we wouldn't forget to be kinder than we felt in the moment. On the day of the review, the list said only, "By Basil, stop saying fine when you mean tired." I clicked. The host's profile was tidy, the way men trying to be invisible are tidy. A loft in a converted factory, 4 photos that looked like they had been taken by someone in love with sun, a guest book full of sentences like "so thoughtful with the extra blanket," and perfect for a weekend of writing and resetting. The review date sat on a Friday. Maya told me she had a late dinner with her team and then a brunch she couldn't miss. I had believed her, partly because I wanted to, partly because my job has taught me that plausible stories dull the appetite for proof. I did not take a screenshot. I did what I do at work. I read the metadata, the check-in window, the cancellation policy, the distance from the train, the time stamps on the host's replies, the polite brevity of someone who gets paid to be charming and prefers to save it for the right rooms. I read the other reviews and found a pattern that looked like a moderately careful man falling in love with his own discretion. I kept thinking of Maya's orange peel line, and the way the bed in the photo had 2 pillows dented just enough. It could have been anyone's text. It could have been a coincidence. It could have been me practicing how to let something be ordinary. I closed the app and stared at the basil we had already killed twice and replaced because we believed in second chances. The apartment smelled like laundry and ginger, the way Maya smells when she has to pitch to a room full of men in navy jackets who love the word visionary. When she came home, she set down her bag like a confession placed carefully on a table. She kissed me the way she always does when she's still half on stage, soft, delayed, a beat late to her own mouth. "You look like you've been cataloging cloud shapes," she said. "I found your words," I said, "on a review." Her eyes did that precise flicker I know too well, surprise, calculation, then the tired version of relief. She didn't pretend. She sat on the arm of the chair across from me, elbow on knee, chin on fist. "Do you want me to tell you I lied?" she asked. "Or do you want the story I wish were true?" "Start with the version that helps," I said, and hated the way my voice sounded like a meeting. She took a breath. "I booked a place," she said. "3 weeks ago, I told you I had a dinner. I did. After, I didn't want to come home to the way we've been circling each other. I told myself it would be a night to think. I didn't plan for anybody else. And then... And then I sent a text I shouldn't have," she said. "I asked him if there was coffee. He said yes. I said I like it too dark. He said me too. He came by to show me the grinder. We made 2 cups that were too strong to be polite. It wasn't a movie. It was a room and a man and a mistake that still smelled like citrus when I left." The host, I said, he has a name. Evan, she said, and the room became uncomfortably specific. I wanted to ask what his hands were like, and whether his voice had the kind of gravel that makes responsibility sound like appetite. I wanted to ask what she had thought about while her body remembered being an animal without a job. I wanted to throw a glass at a wall just to hear the sound of a necessary break. I did none of that. I nodded like a man who believes in policies. Why the review? I asked. Because he asked, she said. Because that's how those rooms survive. Because I wanted to leave something that wasn't shame. And because the words are how you forgive yourself, I said, and she didn't contradict me. We did not touch that night. We lay on our backs and let the ceiling be blank because neither of us had a story that knew how to end kindly. In the morning, I made coffee too dark and she drank it anyway, and we stood in the kitchen like colleagues before a difficult presentation. Do we stop? I asked. Or do we change? She smiled in that lopsided way that means she doesn't believe either option is less complicated than the other. Could we be different, she said, without becoming people we don't like? I left for work with that question under my tongue. The host wrote to me first, not in the app, in my inbox at work, which takes a different kind of knowing. Subject line, we should align. Body, a line about my company's trust framework, a line about overlap in professional concerns, and a phone number written without punctuation, the way men do when they want to seem wearily practical. I met him because I wanted to see if the gravity was real, or if I had built a magnet to explain how easily a woman could slide out of my domestic orbit. He suggested a coffee shop that made people with laptops feel welcome and expensive. He arrived in a sweater that looked like he had learned to understand wool. He smelled like quiet weather. He smiled the way people smile when they have done the arithmetic and decided to be gentle with the result. "You're Nathan," he said, and the fact that he used my full name instead of the simpler Nate made me hate him less. "You're Evan," I said, and we shook hands like men who have accidentally shared a map. He didn't waste time. "I won't be a problem," he said. "I won't be a solution. I don't want this to be a thing that makes her pick a performance." "I don't need noblesse oblige," I said. "I need to know whether I'm missing something obvious because it's easier to be dignified about a story if you can see all the props." He exhaled, a sound like a faint apology. "She reminded me of why people book my place," he said. "Not to cheat, to try on a different version of themselves. Sometimes that version involves a stranger who tastes like their better decisions would have." "And you," I said, "do you collect versions?" "I collect decent exits," he said. "I've learned not to push for arrivals." We drank coffee and talked like professionals about consent and kindness and the ways a bed can be a device as much as a welcome. He didn't brag. He didn't confess. He said, "I won't write to her unless she asks. I won't invite her unless she invites herself. If she leaves another review, it will be because she wanted the room, not because it wanted her." He let me dislike him in peace. I went home and told Meyer about the coffee. She flinched. "You two had a summit," she said, and the laugh that followed was as brittle as a champagne flute left too close to a sink. I needed to know whether there was an ambition I was underestimating, I said. "He isn't angling for a war." "He's a host," she said. "He's angling for a return booking." We decided to build ourselves an experiment that would make some people roll their eyes and others call it brave. 4 weeks apart, no one-night stands, no hiding contact if it happened. A check-in every Sunday where we said out loud which parts of our bodies missed which parts of the other person's presence. It was ugly and tender and felt like waking up early on purpose. I moved into a friend's sublet that had the kind of couch that forgives when you sleep on it. Maya stayed with our plant collection, and tried not to kill anything else. The first week, solitude felt like a trick I couldn't perform. I wrote code with the focus of someone trying to outrun sound. I bought fresh basil and managed to keep it alive an entire 5 days. On Saturday, I walked past a street where a woman was selling old records and thought about how Maya danced in the kitchen when a saxophone forgot to be smooth and decided to be rude. On Sunday, we sat across from each other at a cafe where the tables were small enough to confess across. "What do you miss?" I asked, "besides the obvious?" "The smell of your shampoo on my sweatshirt," she said. "The way you always leave water on the bathroom counter like proof that you rushed to come kiss me after you brushed your teeth." She smiled, small. "The way your hand finds my waist when you walk behind me and you think you're not doing anything." "I miss your bad jokes about late capitalism," I said. "I miss how your laugh starts in your shoulder. I miss your knee on the inside of my thigh when we sit too close because public matters less than language." We didn't touch, we didn't beg. We left each other with a list for the fridge: basil, patience, one more week. The second week, Maya sent me a single text at midnight. I wrote a draft. She meant a review. She meant a story about a room. She meant she had booked the loft again. I stared at the phone until the battery made its own choices. In the morning, I wrote back, "Do you want me to ask you not to?" She took 3 hours to answer. "No, I want you to want me not to. That's different." I didn't reply. Some silences say, "I trust you." Others say, "I respect your independence." Mine said, "I'm afraid of my own yes." I did the one petty, honest thing I allow myself. I monitored the listing like a weather app. A new review appeared 2 days later, not hers. A woman named Kay wrote about the desk that invites secrets but doesn't keep them. That nearly undid me. I imagined Maya giving Kay directions to the bakery around the corner. I imagined Evan's hand on the kettle, the way he probably tilts it like a waiter who knows the weight of being watched. Jealousy is a creative field when it needs to be. I let it tire itself out. On the last Sunday, we met at the reservoir and walked without looking at each other. She told me she hadn't gone back. She told me she wrote a review for our own apartment by accident. The morning light knows what to do, and the couch is generous with the humans who forget how to sit. I told her about the new basil plant and how it tasted like surrender. We stopped near the fence where the city pretends it is a painting. She turned and tucked her face into my neck, with a relief so physical my knees got the message late. "I want this," she said into my collar. "I want to be bored with you and then invent our way out when we need to." I told her yes. I told her let's do it in ugly, patient increments. I told her about the way Evan had promised not to be the villain in a narrative that didn't require one. She nodded. "Be kind to the men who don't need to win to be whole," she said, "and be kinder to yourself." We went home. We moved the couch. We bought sheets that actually felt like something. For a while, it was a sequence of small, good days. When we kissed, it wasn't the relief of starving finally eating. It was the gratitude of being fed at the right hour. In bed, we took our time and did not try to prove anything. My mouth found the place beneath her ear where the world gives up and lets the body be the only language. Her palm on my chest was a map I remembered by touch alone. We stopped when stopping was a decision we made together, not a duty. Evan sent one message the week after, not to Maya, to me. A photo of a window with rain on it and the caption, "New curtains, they make good shadows." I didn't respond. I understood the courtesy. I understood the desire to be seen and the desire to be sainted for stepping out of the frame. I archived the email because rituals matter. I still catalog spaces. I still teach an algorithm how to tell the difference between a room that wants you to belong and a room that wants you to perform. Sometimes I see Maya's old pseudonym leaving 5 stars on a cabin 3 states away, and I smile at how much of her is made of windows. Sometimes we book a place together and write the kind of review that doesn't tell the truth so much as invite strangers to aim for it. In our kitchen, the basil lives on the second shelf now, where it gets the right light without needing to be heroic. On the fridge, the list says, lemons, bread, say it out loud before it becomes a habit. When we fight, we try not to be clever. When we forgive, we try not to make each other pay with poetry. And when I catch her reading over my shoulder at midnight, fingers idly twisting the hem of my t-shirt, I kiss her wrist and say, "The linen smells like orange peel and rain." And she laughs into my mouth and says, "5 stars would book again."